Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you again so much for our time together. Looking forward to a great Palm Sunday services all this weekend, Saturday, and all the services on Sunday as I begin to teach you how Jesus, knowing the future, knowing what everybody would do to him, knowing the rejection, knowing the pain, didn't change his love for us. Knowing the denial didn't change his faith for Peter. Knowing what we would do today doesn't change how he treats us or ministers to us. He's a God who never changes. What we do does not change God. It's going to be a great study all weekend. But right now, I want us to go back and look at a very important subject that most of us live with every day of our life. It's called the subject of delegation. Deuteronomy chapter 1, beginning with verse, put my glasses on so I can see better in this tiny print Bible, verse 9. At that time I said to you, you were too heavy a burden for me to carry alone. The Lord your God has increased your numbers so that today you are as many as the stars in the sky. God fulfilled his promises to them. May the Lord, the God of your father, increase you 1,000 times and bless you as he's promised. But how can I bear your problems and your burdens and your disputes all by myself? Choose some wise, understanding, and respected men from each of your tribes, and I will set them over you. You answered me, what you propose to do is good. So I took the leading men of your tribes, wise and respected men, and appointed them to have authority over you, as commanders of thousands, of hundreds and fifties, and of tens, and of tribal officials. And I charged your judges at that time to hear the disputes between your brothers and judge fairly, whether the case between your brother Israelites or between one of them and an alien. Do not show partiality in judging. Hear both small and great alike. Don't be afraid of any man, for judgment belongs to God. Bring me any case too hard for you, and I will hear it. At that time, I told you everything you were to do. I want you to notice some beautiful principles of delegation today. Why do we need to delegate? Why do we need to delegate in businesses? Why do we need to delegate even when it comes to ministry and the responsibility of caring for people? Because of the need. In verse 9, he said, the load is too heavy for me to carry alone. In verse 10 and 11, he said, God has given you growth and God's going to give you more growth. And in verse 12, he said, now listen, the needs of the people are going to be neglected. I can't do it all. Things are not going to get done. So these are three great needs of delegation. The load is too heavy, growth, and the neglect of people's needs. Who are we to delegate to? Well, to the wise, verse 13, to the understanding, verse 13, to the respected, verse 13, and verse 15, to the experienced, those leading officials, people who are already experienced in leadership. You don't delegate to newbies. You don't delegate giving people a chance. You delegate to people of experience. What is it delegated? Verse 13, you delegate authority. I will set them over. Verse 16, they will judge. You delegate responsibility. We delegate authority and responsibility. But there's two great principles about delegation that we always ignore that I want you to remember. Number one, delegation is not an abdication. You are not saying, I'm not responsible anymore. Moses said, I will set you over them. The same thing happened when the apostles put the deacons and gave them responsibilities and authority. They said, we will put them in charge of this. In other words, we're still in authority. There is no abdication. There is no, it's not my responsibility anymore. The buck still stops with the leader. But the other thing I want you to understand is we can delegate authority, we can delegate responsibility. But one of the greatest mistakes I watch businessmen make is when you try to delegate things to people and you can't delegate blessings and you can't delegate anointing. I want you to remember with me, God uniquely blessed and anointed Jacob, gave him a vision, said if you do this, this is what's going to happen. Anybody else did it, it wouldn't happen. God told Moses, you're going to lead these people across the sea. When Pharaoh tried to follow, he drowned. He just imitated faith. With Joseph, everything Joseph touched was blessed because God was with him and God's hand was on his life, but that wasn't true for others. With Laban's sons, they could do the same things that Jacob did and did not get the same results. Now the principle I want some of you young businessmen to see is that God has put his hand on your life. You can make a decision, you can take an action, and the results will be very different than one of your assistants who makes the exact same decision and does the exact same things. Because the blessing is not in what you do, and the blessing is not in the decision. The blessing is on how God blesses the work of your hands. Please understand, young businessmen, there are some things you cannot delegate.